Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, and it's a Valentine's Day collector's issue. Today, I'm counting down 5 moments in comics that I love. Well, not really ranked in terms of one moment supposedly being better than the other. These are just times in comics that I found so memorable for one reason or another that they've really stuck with me over the years. You might be asking, why not best couples in comics or best romantic moments in comics? Good questions. I don't care. Besides, with so much emphasis on romantic love, I think it's important to acknowledge love in other forms, like platonic or familial, or simply the love of a good story. Because you're alone. So very, very alone.
Number 5. Beer fixes everything. Picture, if you will, a telepath as powerful as Charles Xavier, his long-lost twin sister, in fact, threatening the X-Men with the aid of a new Hellfire Club. Well, that's just the story in Astonishing X-Men, written by the world's foremost fanboy, Joss Whedon. In particular, Wolverine's memories were wiped, which would be normal for him, except now the only memories he has are those from before he gained his powers.
The mind of a Canadian preteen from the 1800s in the body of a grizzled, chain-smoking, walking Ginsu set. There's a sitcom idea in there somewhere.
Jimmy was content minding his own business until finding himself thrust in the growing conflict in the mansion, including running from a feral Hank McCoy. He encounters dangers and familiar faces, even pops his claws, but nothing seems to trigger his memories of the last 100 years or so. He has an unexpected trip through the kitchen that's stopped by the fridge, busting it open, and one of its contents falling on him. He sees that it was a can of beer, and a furrowed brow tells us the old knucklehead is back.
Mental note, take up binge drinking. May recover memories of being unkillable superhuman.
Granted, it may seem silly, but hey, that's comics. Besides, it kind of fits, don't you think? The guy's been seen with a beer in his hands, or he talks about beer a lot. It pretty much figures that it could be used as a kind of memory recovering mechanism, as explained later by an unferal Hank McCoy. And it's just the kind of levity to a serious situation Joss Whedon is known for.
Of course, now I'm curious what Wolverine would sound like, say from Cal Dodd's voice, or Steve Blum's voice, or that guy Ryan Reynolds is trying to get back on the claws for the Deadpool sequel. Hint, hint.
Number 4. Marked the Spot. It's Christmas time in Detective Comics 826, and Tim Drake, Robin, is evading some gun runners he had failed to capture. His bike gets trashed, and he accepts the help of a nearby motorist offering him a ride, even though he can't see who it is. As soon as he gets a good look and discovers it's the Joker, he's immediately knockout gassed. We have a dream/memory of that year Tim took off with Grayson and Bruce, watching an old comedy movie until the subject of the Clown Prince of Crime came up. He then wakes up, tied to the passenger seat of the car.
I swear I'm going somewhere with this.
Robin finds the car's original owners dead in the back seat, as Joker hits a couple people in the road and shoots a fast food manager.
I swear I'm going somewhere with this.
And not just to the strange lack of reaction from Gothamites when Joker pulls up to their drive-thru window. Robin thinks of a way out of this situation just as the right setup presents itself. Joker about to hit some kids and a Santa Claus. "You can't fool me. There ain't no Santa Claus." And with admiration in his twisted gaze, Joker responds, "A Marx Brothers quote!" Playing off his captor's love of comedy, Robin misattributes the quote to the wrong film, and Joker corrects him, even to the point of setting up the scene from the correct film in detail. This catches the clown off guard, while Robin uses a free hand to slug him. I won't spoil the rest of the issue, but needless to say, Robin does not bite the big one. The carnage notwithstanding, I think this story has a very good example of how Joker is best portrayed. As much as I like Heath Ledger's take, I think both The Dark Knight and certain industry heads who think comic books need to synergize with films caused a noticeable decline in the character's jocularity. Joker became more subtly menacing rather than subversively, and he even got shot through the mouth off-panel to make him more resemble the late Mr. Ledger's look.
In the last few years, you've had the New 52 make him out to be some kind of omnipresent Machiavellian puppet master. Scott Snyder made him a horror movie villain that barely ever cracks a joke. And I don't want to even get into the latest cinematic rendition.
So I give this story serious points for having Joker be more generally entertaining like he should be. Any bad guy can be intimidating and malicious, but the Joker can make you belly laugh while he's threatening you.
And in the end, isn't that what we're all looking for on Valentine's Day? Wait a minute.
Number 3. Did you get all that? During the 12-part multi-title arc The Other, Spider-Man gets some news of the terminal variety, but superheroes on, because that's what he does. He also faces a powerful opponent named Morlun. In Amazing Spider-Man 526, the 6th chapter, MJ squares off against the villain, but he breaks her arm with very little effort.
Hey, you can't do that! She's attractive!
However, in the next chapter in the story, and onward, MJ's arm is inexplicably fine. No sling or anything. She even smacks Wolverine with that very arm with no problem. A few real-time months later, in Amazing 529, Peter points out this plot hole, and Tony Stark gives a fringe science explanation about the fracture being treated with his own emergency kit to make the injury appear to have never happened. Then they each give a snarky look to the reader.
They acknowledged me. Then maybe... Cassandra, listen carefully. You have to stop DC Comics. Trust me, they are doing you zero favors.
This wasn't a huge plot point, more of a minor oversight from so many writers on one story, and it's pretty rare for a comic outside of Deadpool to behave like this. But it was done in such good humor that I had to stop reading the comic for a minute or two because I was laughing so much. Straczynski managed to give an explanation for the phenomena that fits well enough in the kind of world they live in, while not forgetting to still have a little fun.
Forgetting to have fun, Oh, that reminds me. You might want to deal with the people handling the DC movies, too.
Number 2. Broken Punch-Out. Not long into her own ongoing title, originally mute Cassandra Cain was given the ability to speak by a telepathic metahuman rewiring her brain to think in English. A downside to this newfound neurological capacity was that Cassie couldn't read movements like she could before, lowering her defenses and making her a less effective fighter. Holographic tutoring and real-life sparring weren't making any improvements, so Batman benched her. This is what two stubborn, disagreeing ninjas look like, folks. Cass decides not to stay benched, however, and goes out in a makeshift disguise before finding Lady Shiva, a world-class martial artist Cass was warned by Oracle to stay away from.
Keep in mind, this is before Cassie discovered that Shiva was in fact her mother. So, does she follow Barbara's advice and avoid the clearly superior fighter? No.
Cassie normalizes her outfit and follows Shiva into a ritzy restaurant, eventually seeing a royal-looking target that she figures Shiva intends to kill. The assassin takes out the dignitary's guards and points a gun at her before Cassie coaxes Shiva into a fight. But, like I said, our girl wasn't what she was, and Shiva breaks her arm before leaving her unconscious in a pool of blood. Paramedics take Cassie in, but she regains consciousness and absconds with a bracelet Shiva left behind. Cass returns to the scene of the attack to try and track her opponent down, only to be surprised by said foe. Shiva reveals she only attacked because she knew it was the only way Cassandra would get involved. She's disappointed in the teenager's no-kill policy, thinking she won't be much of a threat. She demands her bracelet back, with the girl's broken arm. Cass obliges, but then knocks Shiva out in one punch. With her broken arm. Not without some consequences, though.
She was so determined to beat Shiva and prove that her refusal to kill was far from a liability that she didn't even let her injuries stop her. There's a reason she's my favorite Batgirl.
And the number 1 moment in comics that I love is The Miraculous Birds and Bees. Watchmen is an intricately told 12-chapter story about a world of superhero pastiches loaded with political satire and social commentary. It was drawn by Dave Gibbons and written by the guy who wants his name removed when any of his stuff gets adapted to other media.
And since I mentioned Watchmen, you might be wondering what I think of this. Short answer? Bad idea. For so many reasons. But that seems to have been DC's standard gear for a while now.
I consider Watchmen to be a pretty good story that still holds up in a lot of respects, but I don't consider it what some might call a sacred text. I just think that everything you can tell with these characters was already told in the book. Though I can understand if others think it's an overrated and overhyped product of its time.
Unless you're talking about the movie, in which case it's the director that's overrated and overhyped.
Dr. Manhattan is a godlike entity that's shown to have a unique way of looking at things, mostly due to the fact that he sees various time periods all at once, though he can still be surprised. He takes his ex-girlfriend, Silk Spectre II, to Mars so they can have a private chat, and, well, I won't spoil it for you, but she has a realization about her origins. It freaks her out, and Dr. M reassures her in a pretty surprising way. He basically explains where babies come from, but does so in such a way that's both cold and factual while kind of being beautiful at the same time. You could even say poetic. He concludes that, despite the circumstances, Julie's life is a genuine miracle, and it could be interpreted that by extension, so is life itself. I won't recite the dialogue here because I don't think I can do it justice, but it's what I always think of whenever I think of the Watchmen, mixing stern and stoic logic with a kind of universal beauty in a sense.
And there you have it, folks, my first Valentine's Day special. Though, admittedly, I never put much stock in it as much as I have February 15th, aka Discount Valentine's Candy Day. That way, I can get stuff on the cheap. And pretend someone loves me. Oh, this one's crispy.